See incredibly talented people across the internet every single day. People who are at the top of their game in their field and possess incredible talent. And everybody always says, we all start somewhere. I didn't used to be this good. It's been really hard. But no one shows you the progress before they were good. Everybody's showing you the highlight reel. No one's showing you what it was like when they were learning that skill, when they were trying to get better, while they were climbing the ladder to get to the top of their game. And that's what we're going to do with this new series. So stay tuned. You're coming along with me, and it's going to be fun. Before we dive into today's video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future videos and you can continue to follow along on this woodworking journey with me. All right, y'all. So I have taken up woodworking as a hobby. Little backstory. I have always been really into home stuff and making things, and I've always been just super handy. Prefacing all of this with, I do consider myself to be above average in the handy department. But I am not a woodworker. I'm not a furniture maker. I'm not any of that, but this is a hobby that really, really intrigues me, and I am excited to learn it. And I thought it would be really fun to, just document the process of learning a new hobby. It's a new year. We all set new goals and resolutions, and we are still in the middle of all things COVID. And as an event planner in the middle of COVID, I still have a little bit of free time hanging out here. So I figured, why not learn this new hobby and document it for YouTube and have some fun along the way. So what you are going to see next is actually me going through 3 builds. And the first one is a Beanie Baby Zoo for a little girl who, with the Dreams Come True organization, and she was about to undergo a bone marrow transplant. And so I built a Beanie Baby Zoo for her. The second is a walnut charcuterie board that I built for my cousin's 30th birthday. And then the third build you're going to see here today is building a coffee table / bench, whatever you want to call that. But I am going to show you little clips of each of those builds and then just pop in and tell you basically everything that went wrong with it, because why not? I'm learning. One day I'm going to be good at this, and putting that out in the universe. One day I'm going to be good at this, and I think it's worth it to have this to look back on, not only for myself, but for everyone else to realize, not realize, but actually see that process of everyone starts somewhere. And everyone always says everyone starts somewhere, but they're always saying this when they've reached the top of their game. And I'm going to show you the process of getting to the top of my game. So that's what this new series is. I think it's going to be fun. And yeah, so here's the 3 builds I have tackled since the start of the year. All right, y'all. So I am out in my tool shed. This is going to be kind of an odd angle, but I am in the middle of a build for a little girl who is about to undergo, I think, her 2nd bone marrow transplant. And I got connected through a childhood friend of mine, and she has collected a bunch of Beanie Babies. This little girl loves Beanie Babies and wanted to create sort of this Beanie Baby zoo that she had seen online, and was looking for someone to build it. And I saw her Facebook post and took it as an opportunity to practice my skills. And yeah, so here we are. I've built my base. I'm not going to take you through the full build of it, but like I said in sort of the opener to this video, I feel like a lot of times we like showcase things online once we've already perfected a skill, and always like a look how good I am, like look at my talents, but no one ever showcases the process of like learning a new skill, which is always way more intriguing to me, is that like process of learning, because we all go through that process of learning like a new skill or a new hobby or something like that, and think that the people we watch on like will get frustrated because everyone online is like, you know, perfect and wonderful, and then you're like, oh my god, I can't do this, I'm not as good as them, I shouldn't do it. Well, this is me learning a new skill, and I'm very new at this, but I wanted to show you everybody starts somewhere. And so I, took this as an opportunity took this build as an opportunity to like work on my skills and like build something I wouldn't otherwise do and things like that. So here we are. But this is a terrible angle, by the way. So I've got this base together, and I like didn't show the beginning process of it, but my 45, so I built a box. That's what I get when I'm using the item I'm trying to show you as the holder for my phone. So let me pick up my phone. Okay. So I have built this box here, and you can see this is going to be the top of it, which I'm gluing up over there. But I did it with 45s because I wanted to practice my 45-degree angles, so like my box cuts and things like that. And they're not great. 45s are super hard, by the way. So I just wanted to show you, like, you'll see this. I'll post a picture when it's done, likely, or show you a video of it on here, and it's going to look all pretty and wonderful and perfect and painted up. But, like, take a look. Got a big gap in this 45 here where it doesn't meet up exactly. You can see on the ends, it's not meeting up exactly. Down here, it's not exactly level. So the point of this is, like, there it is. Down this one, it doesn't meet up exactly. Okay, so here is what you guys missed with that build. So I basically showed the process of building the, I didn't even show the whole process. I showed you guys and like talked to you once I had the base partially built, and then I was like gluing up the top band of it. And with that build, I was on a major time crunch. The little girl was going in for treatment. It had to get done. And I was getting so frustrated with that build. And I truthfully just wasn't even thinking about recording it. I probably made 75 trips to Home Depot for more material, because I made a lot of miscuts and needed more material. When I was finishing my top band, which you will see in the picture in just a second, for some reason, the third side was just cut wrong. And I cut that same side wrong like 4 times and could not figure out why I kept cutting it incorrectly. Like, I was just getting so frustrated. And I truthfully, I still struggle a little bit with what I did wrong there, because I had cut all 4 sides to the same length before I glued it up. But then once it was glued up, the 4th side just would not fit. It was just way too short. And so probably what it was my angles were wrong elsewhere and not perfect. And I was trying to make them perfect. And so it didn't glue up. Like, boxes are hard. So you missed that. Obviously, I didn't showcase that. The painting and sanding was just a catastrophe. I really am learning that I don't like working with construction grade lumber, which is what you will buy at like Home Depot or Lowe's or hardware store, because pine is super soft. So it literally shows everything. And that was really annoying, especially if you have perfectionist tendencies. When I did my support post, they were incorrect, or not totally incorrect, but they were just not plumb and straight, and that's totally on me. I didn't even think to check about level when I installed them. So there were just 100 different things that I did wrong, but I got it done. I got it assembled. The little girl loved it. And let's also not forget about, for some reason, my neon pink spray paint, which was her favorite color, so I wanted to use it, kept crackling. And I don't know why. It kept crackling when I put it over primer. So I had to repaint the top trim probably 4 times. Like I painted it, sanded it, painted it, sanded it, painted it, sanded it. It was just a mess. I was so frustrated by this build. It took me way longer than I thought it would. I learned so much, but it was so incredibly frustrating. So here's the end product. It, again, looks really simple. If I never build another Beanie Baby Zoo again in my life, I'd probably be okay. But this time it'd probably be easier. So, but here it is. All right, y'all. So I am back in the shed and finally finished the Beanie Baby Zoo that I was building, and turned out great. It was a ton of lessons, and in an effort to continue progressing on my skills, working up to building our new big kitchen island. I don't know if I've shared that yet, but I took on this hobby because I thought it'd be fun, but I also set a goal for myself this year, which was to rebuild our kitchen island. So I'm not doing a cabinet base. It'll be totally open underneath because it also doubles as our dining table. But it's a pretty massive build. It's going to be about 10 feet long, ideally. And so I am just building anything and everything I can to practice and get better to get that build done. And I have set a timeline for myself. I want that to be completely done, stone installed and all, by Thanksgiving. So that means I probably need to start the build of the base in like September, because it needs to be done in October, because I am estimating like a 6-week lead time on the countertops, and they can't come template for our countertops until the base is done. So just doing anything and everything I can to work on those skills. One of the things I'm working on today is actually a really big like charcuterie cheese board for my cousin's birthday, which is this weekend. And I'm gonna do that maple one behind me too. This is a walnut and that's a maple. I'm actually gonna do both of them today. But I actually started practicing on charcuterie boards back before the end of the year, before the end of 2020, and really enjoyed making them. I was super slow at first and actually lacked a lot of the proper tools, but then I got some new tools for Christmas, and that has made the process that much simpler. They always say, right tool for the right job. It's a huge freaking difference. So I'm just busting out a few cutting boards, but good basic skills on the cutting boards that I don't want to lose. I always, you can always get better. You can always do better. So I'm busting this out, and I will show it to you guys when I'm done. Okay, so I didn't make a ton of errors on my charcuterie board, primarily because I've been building charcuterie boards for a few months now, and my biggest limitation to them before was I didn't own a jointer, which is what gets the edge of your wood like perfectly straight, and that was always the challenge prior. I got a jointer for Christmas, which has been wonderful, and that has made the process a lot easier. And by easier, I just mean really a lot quicker too. So not a ton of errors there, but still a few minor ones. My joints weren't as tight as I would like them to be. Basically what that means is you can see, so it was 3 pieces of wood that I had glued together and to make the board, and you can sort of see those lines. And aesthetically, I don't like it, But also, anytime you can sort of see that gap, it provides a spot where water could potentially seep in. So my joints just didn't get as tight in a few places as I would have liked them to be. Overall, pretty minimal on the air front on the charcuterie board. So here is a picture of it. It's not styled, but you guys can see how it turned out. Okay, so next step in the Sarah's learning to woodwork to be able to build a new kitchen island progress video, whatever we're calling this. I am going to attempt to build a coffee table. Should be fun. So I've got some maple here, and I've got my rough sawn maple here and my notebook, and I am going to start sketching out some plans and some measurements. Okay, so let's do a little furniture build update / life lesson. So I started my first furniture build, which was going to be a coffee table for our sitting room right off the kitchen. And basically it ended up being too small. I had measurements, they were right on my measurements, but once I looked at the tabletop in the space, I decided I wanted something bigger. It just wasn't going to work. So at that point, my tabletop was already glued together. There was no, and it was cut, like there was no going back on this piece of wood. And so I really contemplated for a hot minute. I even put up a couple polls on Instagram, if you saw those, asking if I should continue with it like as a furniture build or just turn it into a 4-foot charcuterie board and try to sell it. Everyone voted charcuterie board. But here's the deal. I really contemplated it, but I started this coffee table build to get better at my furniture skills, and it seemed a little bit like a cop-out to continue with it as a charcuterie board since I was trying to get better at my furniture skills. So I have continued with the furniture, with the plans that I had, and I'm glad I did because I have learned a ton. I'm making a ton of mistakes, like as to be expected, and so I'm glad that it actually didn't work out as I planned, because I would be really disappointed. I think long term with this as my coffee table, just with all the mistakes that I'm making. So I am continuing with the build. It's going to basically just end up being a bench instead of a coffee table, and I'm gonna find an alternative purpose for it. Probably like either by our front door, by our back door, or something like that, and just seal it with some outdoor spar urethane. But that's where we're at. So I have sanded and sanded and sanded. I have planed 65 billion times. I've had issues with my planer. I've sanded through those issues. I have trimmed. I have just done a bajillion trillion things to it. And I'm about to do a final sand, and that's just going to be it. Like, I've just resolved that it's not going to be perfect. This is the first furniture quality thing that I have attempted to build, and it was pretty unrealistic to expect my first furniture build to be perfect. So yeah, I'm going to finish sanding the top, and then I'm going to start working on my legs, and hopefully have it assembled today so that I think I'm going to stain it or like Danish oil it with a tinted Danish oil. So I'm going to oil it today is my goal. So yeah, I'm going to go back to sanding, and I will check in a hot minute. Okay, so I got my legs cut. They are perfect, unlike my tabletop, but that's okay. I got my pocket holes drilled. I've got them on the outside because that way you won't see it. Like, this is, the top's gonna go here, so it'll cover those holes. And then you can see, like, down here, they're actually underneath. So I'll screw it from underneath so that you don't see them from the top. But I'm gonna get my screws in there and then assemble it with the top, and I'll show you when it's done. Okay, so let's talk errors with this table. There were so many, and as to be expected, really my first furniture quality build that I was doing. But here are some of the mistakes that I made. Taking size out of the equation. We know I've said it was not the right size for our space. That's a whole different thing. Taking that out of the equation, I had it built to the measurements that I wanted. But once I decided to continue with it as a furniture build, I wanted to trim it narrow enough that it would fit through my planer. And that meant my planer will only plane up to 12.5 inches. So that meant I needed to trim about an inch off of it. First mistake I made was I trimmed that full inch off of one side of the board. And it's not a huge thing, but my tabletop is 2 pieces, or my bench top is 2 pieces glued together, and my seam is not super tight. So like I mentioned with the charcuterie board, you can sort of see that seam down the middle. And if you're paying close enough attention, then you'll realize like one board is narrower than another. And I realize that these are all things that no one else will notice except me. But when we are building furniture, when I'm building furniture, I want it to be perfect, or as close to perfect as it can get. Other issue I ran into were some issues with my planer. Basically what that comes down to is I need to do some maintenance on my planer. My planer was my dad's that he gave to me because he's no longer using it. And it just needs some basic maintenance like everything does. So that is on my list to research and look into, but it created some waves in my wood. It created a few little gashes that I wasn't happy with. So some things like that, that all just comes down to planer maintenance. So also, I did not get, like I mentioned, my seam was not as tight as I wanted it to be. And that simply came from me trying to run a really big raw unfinished piece of wood through my jointer by myself. And it was the first time I had ever tried to joint a 4-foot piece of wood before. And, you know, when you're jointing a piece of wood almost as tall as you, it's a little difficult. So, yeah, it just needed to do more practice, like jointing big pieces of wood, I think, and running that in, because in order for it to be perfectly straight, obviously I need to keep the wood perfectly straight while I'm running it through the jointer. So there's that error. And then my legs, I know I said in the video that like my legs were perfect. They were perfect in terms of my edges were really straight, and things like that. But my seams, like you will see at like where my legs are coming together, because it's 4 pieces that like built a box, where those are coming together aren't as tight as I would want them to be. And I think the reason is that I only screwed them. I didn't glue and screw them. And so I think next time I will glue and clamp and then screw it together. And I think that would get that seam a little bit tighter. But overall, I ran my framing square down the boards of my legs before I ever assembled. And those were like spot on perfection in terms of square on all sides. And that's what I was really going for with my tabletop. And I didn't get there for a whole multitude of reasons. But again, just like everything, lessons learned. I got it sealed up. I just used a tinted Danish oil because it wipes on, it's easy. I will probably seal it with a polyurethane, but that Danish oil has to soak in for 72 hours before I can do that. So it's done. It is complete. Even though it's not going to stay our coffee table, it is currently serving as the coffee table in that room until I can build something new, because we had nothing in there before. So it's currently in there serving as the coffee table, and I will build something new eventually and then move this bench slash table, because you'll see it's not very big, either right next to our front door or next to our back door, just as like a little outdoor bench. And that's that. So here it is. All right, y'all, thanks so much for tuning in today. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you have not already done so. I think this is going to be a fun journey of learning, and I'm excited to share it and continue to share the errors of my ways and how I progressively get better, because practice makes perfect. So I'm just going to keep building everything I can to get better, and yeah, take you guys along with me. So I will see you next time. Bye, y'all.